Dope dialogue. I saw on one of your blog posts, you mentioned that you're looking to buy land and start your own horse farm. I'm not sure if you have already, but like, what's the process look like? Like, what do you look for in the land?
So I have found somewhere already. I'm just gonna stay where I'm at. My parents are actually moving, so I'll be taking over. And I'm really excited about that. So the process for that is finding something that is not going to flood. That's number one, because there's a part in the back of our barn on our land. When it rains, it does flood, and we had built a stall there, so that stall cannot be used. So just looking for like how does it look, and then looking for the amount of acreage. Like if you have horses and large animals, you want a lot of land. The rule of thumb in North Carolina is one horse and 1 to 2 acres of land per horse. And that's just because they graze, so they move around and they eat. They have long legs, they are huge, they need room, and if you have like a horse on something smaller than that, they'll eat it down really fast. And then it'll just make a mess and end up turning it into mud. So just looking for stuff like that, and looking for something, now it's developments everywhere, so it's kind of hard to avoid it. But trying not to be near the highway is always a plus, because again, animals can get out, and you throw in cars in the mix, it just increases the chances of losing those animals. And looking for a place that has trees. Trees are our friends. They are a part of nature. I know there's many places now you go and look and there's trees, and then the landowner might sell the trees. So you might get the land, but they've already cut the trees down. So just make sure that you communicate stuff like that. And there's so many other things like soil tests. And in North Carolina, we have a cooperative institution in Wake County. And I think every county should have one, I believe. But you can send in the soil so they can test it and see like what different minerals and stuff that you have, and if it will be good for growing stuff. I haven't started my garden yet, but I did have one a few years ago. But I do grow food as well. But I'm ramping that up. This year I plan for my family to be eating straight from the garden. So looking at that and just the layout, because again, if you're growing food or if you have animals, being near the road, that's just a chance of more toxic things that can get into the soil, and you don't want that.
For sure. So like, what other animals would you have? So you have horses, and when it comes to growing your food and everything, you said like the horse would pasteurize the land and everything. What other animals are conducive to that environment?
Oh, I love this question, because I just started looking into permaculture farming. So permaculture farming is basically working with nature and the animals that you have to create this huge system of farming. So I have 2 chicks right now. That we had a chicken, she hatched some eggs, which normally doesn't happen in the winter because it's so cold. Like normally that's a springtime thing, but I have them in the house. So eventually I'll put the chickens on like a piece of the land where I'm going to have my garden. And the chickens will eat whatever they're going to eat. Let me back up. I'll put some sheep on it first, let the sheep eat everything down, get the weeds and all that. Then I'll put the chickens and the turkeys on it, and they'll eat what's left. And then I'm going to come behind them and put a pig on it, so the pig can start tilling and rooting up everything else. And then I'll put chickens on it again, just so they can mix in compost and other like good stuff like that. So in doing that, all it's doing is nurturizing, putting nutrients into the soil for that garden. And so it's like just this huge system with permaculture farming. But right now I have 1 rabbit, and rabbits have what's called cold fertilizer. So his poop can instantly go out into the garden because it doesn't have to age or anything. You can just put it out there and it fertilizes. I have a pig who is staying with one of my friends. So when I get him into the garden, he'll be able to dig up stuff, and make the soil all great and whatnot. There's a few sheep at the barn, and I want to get an alpaca. because you can use alpaca's fur. Well, I want to get a couple of them, but you can use their fur to make yarn, and I love to crochet. So just creating this huge system, all the animals working together cohesively.
That's pretty cool. I had no idea like the animals would naturally tend to the land, like help the soil, pull out weeds, and also help fertilize it. So is it having them all on that land at the same time, or is it kind of like you put the sheep first and then let them do their thing?
It's like a system. So you do the sheep, and then you would do the turkeys and the pigs and the chickens. Because what chickens do is they scratch, and they actually till the land, like they'll do it for you. And I've also seen where like people will create like a little corral thing. So say if out in the horse pasture during the hot months to manage flies, I could create something in the pasture for the chickens. The chickens will eat up the horse manure. That way they're also eating the flies, so we don't have a bunch of flies everywhere. So just using the animals to make everything work beautifully. That is my goal. And that's what permaculture farming basically is. But I'm new to it. I'm still learning, but I'm really in love with this type of farming.